mood is sort of one of
Yeah.
those like, sneaky things that like creeps up that we don't realize at first could be perimenopause.
These are nuances that I want women to understand. I wanted like eat the way you eat, time the way you time,
Yeah.
and just, take accountability.
I don't know if you did the Dutch test, but like I saw for me, my eye-opening moment was like seeing on my Dutch test 6 months apart that like both estrogen and progesterone were tanked, even though my blood labs look normal. If you love diving into the latest wellness secrets on the podcast, then you're going to want to join my exclusive weekly newsletter. Get insider wellness tips you won't hear anywhere else. Be the first to know about my upcoming fasting workshops because let's be real, fasting is the secret weapon for surviving perimenopause. Access my weekly essentials, tools, and biohacks to help you thrive in midlife. I promise to make it worth your while, straight to the point, no fluff, just powerful tips to help you feel your best every single week. Don't miss out. Sign up now at thewelldrop.com. Let's take your wellness to the next level together. So, Deb, let's start at the beginning. Before we started working together, you felt like you were doing all the things. You were eating clean, you were weight training, you're already on HRT.
Yeah.
You were following the rules as best as possible, but you felt like the scale wasn't budging. There was just sort of like this like final few pounds that wouldn't move. Like what was it that was the moment that you realized you needed something deeper than what you were currently doing?
Well, I'm not a weight person, meaning I only go by the way I feel. I think that's after being a 90s kid where like waif was in. And if you weren't that, you felt kind of crappy about yourself. So I think I've always had a really good kind of awareness when things are different based on clothing, not based on a number. And I've really, for years, have not looked at my scale. So this was never about like, oh, I keep on looking.
I like that.
Yeah, not at all. I am not like you just know, you just feel different. Your clothes fit different. The way when you sit, it feels different and it feels yucky. And I think that I've known for a couple of years. Um, and I was trying not to be triggered by it, in old patterns that we all had, being like, okay, it could be stress, it could be, midlife, all of these things kind of coming up. So for me, it was not a numbers game, it was a feelings game. And, you do all the things like you were saying, okay, I finally went on HRT and progesterone because it was the right move for me early, still have my cycle. And it wasn't about weight, it was about mood and the feelings. But the my weight didn't change. So, when everyone's like, it's a miracle, like it wasn't for me. It was
You hear
phenomenal.
all the things go on, it's going. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people just feel like it's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah. And it solved
So,
and I'm grateful for it. And it really stabilized some of the feelings I was having. And I'm grateful to it. But it wasn't like, I think we all want that. And there it is. Done.
it's only that easy. It would be so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So for me, when I decided to reach out to you was I was in kind of a healing crisis because I had a horrible back issue that happened to me in August. And now here I can't work out. I can't move my body the same way. I'm forced to really look at everything. I mean, that's what like a crisis does in that moment, right? If you're willing to look into it and really to dig deeper. So I knew there was a physical reason, there was an emotional reason, and then I had time. And I mean significant amount of time. There was 3 weeks I couldn't even work because my job is so physical that I couldn't even bend forward without being in someone. Yeah, it was bad. So to me, as I've went through all the layers, it was a window that opened up, was like, here's a window. You've known you've needed to like look at your food for a little bit, and it's never the right time, and well, all that. And
Why do we always make such excuses? I mean, I love it. I wish I could. Why do we wait until it's like so dire? What do you think that is? Because you're more connected than most. I mean, you are in the wellness space. So.
Yeah, I think we're so used, like, also like the midlife thing is like what used to work doesn't work anymore. And so you keep on trying all your like old tactics and you keep them believing like that's going to work. Right. And when they don't, you're like, we're just conditioned that way. So
Yeah.
for me, I needed this like yucky thing that happened that opened up space and time where I was like, okay, well, if I can't do all my normal things, what can I do to get, you know, it's a gift of time. And that's when I was like, okay, let's do it.
I love that.
That's really how it happened.
And so what happened to your back? Like, did your back get pulled? Because I mean, all of these midlife things, like I think mood is sort of one of
Yeah,
those like, sneaky things that like creeps up that we don't realize at first could be perimenopause. And
sure.
pain is a big one, and injuries. Like we become way more injury prone.
Yeah, I think for me, mine was mood, which happened about maybe 2 years ago. I would say mine was like just a feeling of when I thought about the day, I was very overwhelmed before the day started. And it was a feeling of like being beige is the best. It was like a blah feeling.
Yeah.
And my days don't normally overwhelm me. I mean, all of our days are busy. I see patients all day. Then I'm a mom and, all the things you have to do that. And that's something I know how to do. So when it felt like, how am I getting through this day instead of like, okay, it's going to be a long day. And I know what that feels, that shift was significant enough for me to be like, okay, I'm a little concerned. The second thing, again, these are nuances that I want women to understand. Like, I love music and music is very motivational to me and I like feel it. Like I'm the one who gets the chills and I can like, shift your space and all that. And I couldn't feel music. I would drive in the car and it was like there was like an energetic block between me feeling the music and feeling like I could shift my mood or just my mindset. There was like a block. And so that I was like, I don't like that. And then the
It's
third thing,
amazing that you're even able to connect that. And I think it's so important for people to hear because if you start to like feel these things and just think this is the new you, like, no, no, no. Like, we don't need to just accept that.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And the third thing was like my husband and I went on a trip to Utah and we did this crazy rappelled off of a mountain. And we've done crazy things like this. And this guy's launching 200 feet of rope down and my husband's pacing. It's can't believe we're doing this. It's amazing. And I literally was like, yeah, it's cool. And I was like, who wants to go first? And he's like, she'll go first. She'll go first. I was like, cool. Thanks for literally throwing me off the mountain first. But I went down it and I literally had no adrenaline in my body. I didn't feel excited. I didn't feel scared. I felt beige
Yeah.
in a moment that should be triggering literal, like
Joy.
or nerves and shaky and adrenaline and like, oh my God, I can't believe we did this. And when I finished it, I wasn't like, yes. Like he was like, oh, he had this sense of accomplishment. And I was like, yeah, it was cool. And then I came home and I called my person and I was like, I need help.
Yeah.
I think I need some intervention because that is not me. So I think for people, if they're like, it's like if you're starting to not feel like yourself and it's a little bit more consistent versus like a day or a week, then I would look into it because it doesn't have to be like I'm depressed all of a sudden. Like I think people are so afraid to be like, I'm anxious or I'm depressed because there's like attachment, like symptoms attached that maybe you don't have. But it's like when you're like, don't feel like yourself in a way that's like you can really start to identify it over amount of time, then it's like
Think we're not also because we just didn't grow up in an era, and it'll be different for hopefully our daughters through these conversations, is that when our hormones start to shift, it does bring on these newfound things like anxiety, like depression, and everyone's so different. So
yeah,
you don't connect like, oh, I have these like new weird moods to think like, oh, I should look into my hormones.
right,
So then it's the cascading of like if your blood sugar and everything we eat every day is setting
yeah,
things off and you're spiking like crazy, that affects the hormones more. It's like the domino effect starts to occur.
100%. Yeah. So I was, I self-corrected with that and it was great and it made me feel better. I still was like poochy and I never had, it was never anything that bothered me so much that I was like, I wish I looked like da da da. But I noticed that I was already making accommodations to feel better. I wouldn't wear certain things and, you know, you just avoided certain stuff in your closet and you're like, it's good enough. And you just make these like shortcuts to be like, not have to deal with like the elephant in the room. Um, And so the watching my blood sugar was like very interesting.
If you love diving into the latest wellness secrets on the podcast, then you're going to want to join my exclusive weekly newsletter. Get insider wellness tips you won't hear anywhere else. Be the first to know about my upcoming fasting workshops because let's be real, fasting is the secret weapon for surviving perimenopause. Access my weekly essentials, tools, and biohacks to help you thrive in midlife. I promise to make it worth your while, straight to the point, no fluff, just powerful tips to help you feel your best every single week. Don't miss out. Sign up now at thewelldrop.com. Let's take your wellness to the next level together. What would you say were some things that maybe used to work in your 20s and 30s that kind of stopped working for you? What were some of your tactics?
Like,
Because I'm sure yours are similar to many others out there. We're all
yeah,
from the same generation.
you're like up the cardio, up the wazoo, right? Because that's how we were taught was like you had to like murder yourself on cardio. Which I let go of a little bit because I wasn't into it, but I would still do it maybe a couple days a week on my Peloton. And you want the sweat and all
Yeah.
that. And just like eating really clean, but what does that mean? You can eat really clean, and what we discovered was like y- that could work in your 20s and 30s, but your needs are different in your 40s, right? So what was clean to me wasn't working anymore, right?
Oh,
So again, it's the whole thing of like the patterns that you're used to, like, oh, if I just do X, Y, and Z, clean it up, no dessert, it should be okay. And then when that doesn't work, you're like, I'm
that
kind of
was,
lost. Yeah, I'm like, "Ooh." And I went for acceptance a little bit. I was like, okay, it is what it is. Like you're 48, like here you are. And I didn't fall down on the sword, but I was kind of like, maybe I wasn't willing just yet to like I didn't want to feel restricted, and I didn't want to be like, now I can't,
yeah.
all
And I
that.
think that is maybe what made you decide to even do it was like the Well Drop Blueprint at the time, where it was
Yeah,
this week challenge. You wore the glucose monitor and then we reviewed your results
yeah.
afterwards. Well, one, were you scared of needles? Because a lot of people always say you have to walk around with a needle in your arm for 2 weeks. Like, what was that experience of just even putting it on and wearing it for the first time?
Well, the iron of, I'm an acupuncturist, so like needles are not really an issue. However, I hate needles personally. So
Right.
I'm one of the weird ones where like I have to lay down to get my blood taken and can't look, but I
Oh,
do this for a living. So it was no issue whatsoever. You don't feel it whatsoever. It's like a 1, 2, 3, push it in. Technology is amazing. It's more shocking with the click sound than it is a physical sound, the physical feeling rather. And for the 2 weeks, so often forgot I even had it. And when I'd be washing my body, I'd be like, wait, what is this? Because I was like soaking it up and I was like, oh, right, right, right. I have this on.
and
It becomes part of you. It's a non-issue. And if that's your limited thought process, I would say like that's a leapfrog over that one really quickly because that's just
I love it.
uh yeah,
Because for me too, I mean, I happen to not be afraid of needles, but I've tested so many. And what I like about this one that you may not even realize because it was the first
yeah,
time I've done it, that it's
yeah,
a practitioner grade. So it's actually a thinner
yeah.
than some of the others that are out there, which makes it obviously more expensive, but it also keeps it from falling off because you're not like, it's not going to get caught on something. So some of the other ones are a little bit thicker and stick off your skin more. This is like
Very flat. It
very
was even when I would get dressed, I never thought about it when it was on. Once you like loaded it up because it takes about an hour to get connected to all those things,
yeah.
after that it was like, you know, it was part of you. And taking it off is a non-issue too.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
like
a band-aid kind of.
not even.
Yeah. And
The
somehow
main thing-
don't
Yeah,
think about the needle, but like the needle's like it's not really, I don't know why, but it seems like a non-event. Like it's not there. It's not so
yeah,
it's so thin. I think people also have to remember like it's like paper thin like an insulin needle is.
yeah.
Especially so many people now getting more comfortable with peptides. Like if you can handle a peptide needle,
Like
it's actually nothing.
right. Correct. I've done the PCP 157 peptides when I was injured on something, and we did that for like 30 days, and that was much more um of a thing because of the daily
Yeah.
those, like actually injection where this is like once it's in, you're
You're
riding the
fine.
coattails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember one thing that surprised you as you started? Like we always say, like the first week, just create awareness, see sort of what's happening, and then the second week we'll start to make those adjustments. Like, what is there a memory of what stood out to you the most in that first week?
Yes, for sure. I think for the first thing is like I did not try to be good on this and like all of a sudden like clean stuff up. I wanted like eat the way you eat, time the way you time,
Yeah,
and just, take accountability and just it's more like could you not judge yourself, but look at it as information about how you are in your day. And so less judgment, just more like, oh, I didn't realize it, like
like more being
curious,
curious. Right. I love that. I'm so happy you said
right?
that. The whole goal is like to start looking at your body in this midlife chapter with a sense of curiosity and not the judgment because it is changing and just to be like, interesting. Oh, okay.
Again, right? We're so programmed. I've eaten a certain way for X amount of years, maybe even decades. So the biggest thing for me is I'm horrible about timing of food. So that's the biggest thing. So often I'll have patients, I don't have any time for lunch. And so I will eat whatever I eat in the morning. And then I might not even eat, even if I remember to bring lunch, which was rare. And then if I ordered lunch, something, and, then I'm pushing it an hour anyways, right? So I've already windowed that out. And then so I remember one day I ran home to eat and it was probably 3 or 4 o'clock. So I don't remember last time I ate, maybe
Too early.
9. That's how I operated for years. And I came home, I was so hungry. I had no hunger mechanism. So I never felt hungry. I only felt hangry. So I was never like, I feel physically hungry. I should eat. It was like I went from like eating to like being in my world to now feed me, but not like my body being like, hey, you might want to think about snack or putting something in. So
Signaling.
interesting to know mine came very like much of as emotional thing, not like a physical symptom, right? I was never hungry in the morning either. So the biggest thing was so I ran home and I ate homemade gazpacho from our garden that I made that I was like, this is how I eat. I love eating vegetarian. And I ate it with some seed crackers. And what is bad about that? Nothing. In
Technically
normal world.
nothing. Exactly. Right. It's healthy. That is a healthy meal.
Okay, will my blood sugar look like I ate a gallon of ice cream? Because
Went
the
to
time it had been 6 hours since my meal, and because I ate zero protein with it. So it was like I should have just ate a gallon of ice cream and enjoyed it just as much because the gazpacho was like it was like a sugar cube for
yeah.
my body. And I was like,
Wow.
What do you mean?" So that was fast. That was my biggest like,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Right.
because
It's
I was I
like
made this. There's not even processed food in it. This is not a convenience store. None of it. I get some seed crackers with it. There was no, and I was like, oh, okay.
we
I
got
got it. We
rein
got a
it.
problem.
I think that's like such an important point that I always try to like tell people when I'm working with them is that it's not about eating healthy anymore. It's about actually needing a deeper dive to see how what you're eating is affecting you because when our hormones start yo-yoing in premenopause, actually, our entire microbiome changes. And so
Yeah.
how our body's responding to food completely changes. And it's one of those things like you probably didn't feel it per se. Like that's a hard thing with this. It's like this
Yeah.
silent thing that if we allow it to keep spiking that way, that's
Yeah.
what leads to the stronger mood symptoms, weight gain, stronger perimenopause symptoms, which none of us want. And
Right.
then once we do, you also said you didn't want to do restriction. Like the important piece is having the curiosity. And then it's really about food pairings, not restriction. So it's all coming from like a nourishing place of like, okay, this is what you like to eat. Now, how am I going to hack my body so that this can work for me? It's kind of
Yeah.
like getting like a little bit like crafty with our meals of like, okay, you wanted that gazpacho and you wanted those seed crackers. Cool. But in order to do that, like maybe you need to do a half an avocado before to get some fat or if you have some protein. You also diet-wise, are you pescatarian? Remind me, or you're totally vegetarian?
I'm gluten free and I eat everything, but I tend towards I just like eating vegetarian because that's like how I was a vegetarian for 17 years until I went to grad school to become a Chinese medicine practitioner. And then the value of how important red meat is for women for blood's sake, because women are so blood deficient in Chinese medicine terms. Um, so during grad school, I started with bone broth. This was nearly 20 years ago when bone broth was not a thing. But that's what they always said, like start by putting it in, bone broth and see how you feel. And then my brain felt tremendously different. It was like it was turned on again.
Yeah,
Well, the biggest changes I made was about timing of my food
timing was huge.
and and protein.
And I do remember also sometimes you were like snacking that instead of having a meal, you were having bars. And so we were like focused on, okay, let's
Yeah.
focus on like real food because you had like really good dinners. Sometimes I don't think because you weren't hungry for breakfast, but we worked on like having your meal timing because we kind of like worked with the cycle. Do you still have your
Yeah.
cycle or no? Was it your real cycle or your moon?
I still have I
Cycle?
saw this couple. Um, that's never been an issue, thankfully. And that's not when people are like, I don't think I should go on the HRT. I saw this like, I'm like, it doesn't matter. What do you feel like?
Yeah,
Because I treat people in perimenopause all the time, is there's ways to do it. You can be peri, and you can do like acupuncture and herbs and supplements to like utilize what you have. And then if that does not work, decide if you want a bigger intervention. There's so many different ways for one to explore this place and, and make changes that will really show up. So for me, it
that's
really
such
was,
an important piece because I think there's three stages of perimenopause,
yeah,
and we have very similar, like Eastern philosophy mindsets of how we handle our body. And most people don't even like do Chinese medicine, but I was also like going to acupuncturist for
yeah,
helping to boost like my adrenals or for energy. But there
right.
was a point where I realized like this, I'm just going down like such a rabbit hole in the herb department, and it just like wasn't working and it wasn't enough that I then saw. I don't know if you did the Dutch test, but like I saw for me, my eye-opening moment was like seeing on my Dutch test 6 months apart that like both estrogen and progesterone were tanked, even though my blood labs look normal. That
Yeah.
made me be curious. So like, okay, maybe it's time to actually support hormones on a hormonal level.
Absolutely. I've done the Dutch test for years. Not to bring in my whole health history, but I had Lyme in 2020. So I think my adrenals and my endocrine system tanked because of Lyme. So you had to do the Dutch test just to see my cortisol was always really, really off.
Yeah,
And I remember saying when we got my Dutch report and she was just like, whatever she said, I felt very validated in my feelings of like fatigue and low libido like making sure that like my husband knew this had not, I love you. I want to be all the things with you. And there's actually like a physical reason why that I'm not as like, let's go. I want that. But my body wasn't there. So yeah, I thought the Dutch test was very interesting because I do think on top of the glucose, there's always at some point with women an adrenal and a cortisol complex with all of this too.
100%.
Um, so we're just at max level at this point in our lives. You've been carrying the weight of so much for so long, both physically and emotionally, that there is kind of I think, a climactic moment that happens.
Yes, and
Um,
also as our estrogen, I just was having this conversation with another
yeah,
client. As our estrogen stores start to go down, they call it like the veil starts to lift and your patience and tolerance starts to go. So it's not like, again, like this personality change of like, oh, you're just a different person today. It's like, no, 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 your hormones are changing, which is creating this side effect. So it has
yeah,
to sort of be that like trigger to be like, I think it might be time to look into hormones because we don't have the capacity that we used to have. Like we might have been able to have like such a big capacity before, and it might just be like this. And so we have to like make those adjustments to it. And
I
it's uncomfortable, but then it becomes sort of your new normal, and then your capacity can start to widen again. Do you feel that way?
totally 100%. Yeah. Totally see it,
So
and I see it with people, a lot of my own patients, where I'm like, before you go have surgery on this thing that I think is totally because you're in perimenopause, might want to start
Hormone.
have a like try hormones. I know you're in a lot of pain, and I know pain is really uncomfortable. As someone who's been in periods of extreme pain, like to go back to like what was my back. It turns out I never had an MRI. I've had back problems since I'm in my 20s. I think it was Lyme that was undiagnosed for 20 years. To
Oh,
go back the whole circle of like, how did this happen?
yeah.
Because my Lyme stuff came back as acute and chronic, but I never knew about whatever the chronic was. But I'm from the Midwest. I went to a sleepaway camp in Wisconsin for 7 years. I'm sure there were six. So I think that's where my pain came from. But as a Chinese medicine practitioner, oh, there's always an emotional component. So I just thought mine was like stress and repressed feelings until this pain was so intense that I went and got my first MRI, and I have six bulging discs and one herniation from
Ooh.
a T to L1. So it wasn't this little, it was like a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Um,
And how has it been now since you sort of had like locked in your food pairings? You have like you definitely upgraded your habits. Like how has the pain been since?
it's like one of those things where was a horrible, made my summer be tremendously challenging. But what once you get through it, like what's the gift of something like this? Which is, I probably wouldn't have done this, and I would have put it past me. Slowing down. I walk now every day versus needing to do cardio every day. And then I do my lifting. And I went back to the basics because once I could get back in my body, I did all the things. I did acupuncture all the time. I did somatic body release. And I have a decompression. I was on a decompression machine 4 days a week for months at a chiropractor. And I was on no pain medicine because it wasn't making a difference. So to me,
Yeah.
it was commitment to healing, which is swirly and windy, and you have to commit to it. Like it doesn't, you don't like, I hope I heal. It's like, no, how do I become a participant in my healing? Right. So I was doing all the things to get my body back. And then the gift of slowing down was rest more, which is so uncomfortable for any woman who only knows how to go.
Go, go.
And that like less is better. Like, okay, you only
Yeah.
have 25 minutes. Like go down and do 75 push-ups, do 3-minute planks, and whatever else. If you're someone who knows how to work out, just put something together and not be like wasted, because what's 25 minutes gonna do? Well, let me tell you, when you're building back your strength,
A
like
lot.
getting that time back, my body looks completely different, especially now that I've lost the weight that I knew I needed to lose, but I didn't really know,
So
what you're saying.
when
Like
did you start seeing the scale start to shift after how long? Because it wasn't that long ago. Like we worked together, this was early September.
early September. Okay, so I started feeling different in my body. I don't know when, but I went to the gynecologist in September somewhere, and I'm again very triggered by numbers. So I turned my back and I said, please don't tell me the number. Please don't have it on my summary form, because the number made it real. And as a little girl, as we all know, or a teen or 20s, that
Oh,
we all
you
have, like,
about yourself.
yeah, there's a number that I knew that would make me feel like total shit. Because when I was 30, I was X, right? Even though I'm nowhere near 30. So, again, patterning life, things that we hold on to, belief system. So, somewhere, let's call it, I don't know, maybe November. So I've been doing now, let's call it like 6, 8 weeks
Yeah.
maybe of being really now eating breakfast. I'm bringing lunch. Like I'm like, I have lunch to eat after this. It's like here. Um, and also I'll say to you that my sugar cravings have completely lessened, meaning I was like, what's my dessert after dinner, girl? And I'm like, I can't believe I don't even want it. That was
Huge.
That was a huge shift. Like, I was like, "What do I get?" Because I
Yeah.
made it through
I
my
ate a
day.
healthy dinner.
No, it's like, I made it through my day. What do I get? What do I get? A Yassa bar? I get a
Oh,
whatever,
right.
like,
Those desserts you were eating.
and I would
You're
eat
like, what did
it,
you have after your meal looked fine, but after was the problem?
and then I
And
realized
it's
that,
Greek yogurt. I'm like,
right, and it took my body X amount of hours to break that down. So you're watching on the glucose monitor, okay, well, you had just digested dinner, it was fine and calm, and then you put this sugar bomb in, even though it was healthy, and now for the next 3 more hours, your body's having to deal with that. So now you added more stress to it.
Yep.
Unbeknownst. So that was a huge learning. So as I got more in like time with my food and those cravings stopped, then I noticed I'm like, my clothes feel a little different, but I don't know if it's me playing a game with myself because we all play games with ourselves. So I boldly, I would say boldly, because I don't know the last time I stepped on a scale in my house. And I'm going to say it's 15 years. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah, it's
I
not
do
your
not.
thing.
Not my thing. And I'm like, I'm feeling different enough that I want to know the difference. So I bravely went into the portal of my gynecologist's report to see what my weight actually was.
Oh,
And I went and looked at that number. And then I went bravely and stood on the scale. And there was a 10-point difference, a 10-pound difference. And I could not believe that.
I know that.
Because for me, I was like, I'm also someone's like, everything has to be hard and there has to be a struggle in it. And right time, right mindset, right everything.
All the pieces
And
like clicked for you of just being able to, and I think the wild just,
blocks. Yeah, like all these blocks removed. It was like, okay, when you're making a package of chicken, make 2 packages of chicken. So there's chicken in the fridge when you're like, I don't know what to make for lunch. It's like, have lettuce, have your chicken, throw in chickpeas. It ain't pretty, but it's protein.
but it works. But it works.
But
But also a great thing that you mentioned is about doing less. I think that's like a big part of this phase is actually paring back. Like this is why I talk about just going as simple as possible. And like that 25 minutes of lifting weights is so much better than an hour of cardio. Like it's
yeah,
just serving your body so much more in this time. And
yeah,
that your body, what's nice is that you're actually seeing the physical benefits of that, which will help to keep you going to know that, like, all right, you're now serving your body in a different way, in a different capacity, and your body's responding. It's happy.
correct. I mean, think about it. If you're already stressed and then you're putting this like cardio stressor on it, your body isn't going to say thank you. It's going to go, okay. Like your nervous system is still going to be
Totally.
so,
It's,
yeah, exactly. And when someone says you should walk more and do less, and you'll notice a shift, again, we're so patterned in our beliefs of like, there's no way that will work.
yeah.
How is that going to shift? Because your body is going to be under so much less stress. It's easier. You're outside. You're not trying to kill it while it's already killed.
Yeah.
Like killed plus killed does not equal alive,
And I
right?
also think it means like this is just for this phase, like maybe post-menopausal when the hormones are at a zero and you're resupplying them, then you might be able to like shift back into a higher gear. But for like right now, I mean, perimenopause could be a 7 to 10 year journey. We don't know. There's no like clock, there's no test to really tell us, but there's a feeling. And I think the 40s is people are at the height of their careers, more, immersed in it than ever. Their
Yeah.
kids are needing them more than ever. Just life is just stressful. It's busy. We have like digital overload getting pounded at
Yes.
us all day long. That we don't actually like take a minute to step back to say, hey, like we got a lot happening here. Like we need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves and just
Percent.
soften a little bit. And then all those little things will start to let go. Because if we're in fight or flight 24/7, wake up, go, Groundhog's Day, on, off. Like our body's not going to relax to release whatever excess it might be holding on to.
It's it's stagnated. It's just it's trying to protect you, but in a way that's more for survival than thriving, right? So that's a huge difference.
And what about I remember at first you said you wouldn't wake up hungry. How did that shift?
Oh, I'm hungry. And it's like I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um, because I made it a rule not to eat past 8, which I felt was very manageable with like my kids' late stuff, like when they have late soccer, if we want to eat and everyone's eating, if we're not eating together, which I love, and we're eating in phases, and it's a late phase. 8 o'clock didn't like to be done by 8 didn't seem unrealistic because then you're by the time I go to bed and wake up the next morning, I'm getting probably before I eat again is like 11, 12 hours
Yeah.
of rest. And that was plenty for me. Um, and the other thing is like I don't like eggs, but it turns out I like quiche. Oh, don't I'm like, again, I'm an acupuncturist. I don't like needles. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. But I made a quiche or something, a gluten-free quiche, and I was like, I like this. And I'm so sick of yogurt, as we've talked about, because I'm not
When you
like
were wanting to get your protein from yogurt, but that's also inflammatory. I think it's hard. A lot of people, they're very into the cottage cheese. They're very into the Greek yogurt. I
not yet.
go into phase two where it's just so easy. So we remember we were like, do that maybe once a month. Like you can have that as your once a month, but that weekly, daily thing.
It was daily because I don't like eggs. Eggs is amazing food, but I found out if I put a lot of broccoli and onion and seasoning and a gluten-free crust with it,
Okay.
and I like
Also,
it.
you're talking about grab and go, right? Like, what are some grab and go items? Like, how can we
Well,
make?
of course. Yeah, it's been perfect. I make one every week. I never thought I would ever do it, and that's been a tremendous life hack. It's because it's so easy to actually make once you get into it, and I usually have leftover steamed vegetables anyways, or I'll make again. It's shifting your mindset a little bit. So when you're cooking, it's like cook extra of everything so that when you need an easy lunch, you have leftover steamed vegetables, you have leftover protein, and you can doctor that up however you want over a salad, over,
Yeah.
um, some other cauliflower rice or whatever it is. Um, so something clicked in my brain there. I mean, it took a long time. It's it seems like isn't that easy, but somehow I did have some kind of book with that.
And I think another important part is you were talking about the consistency. It's like once you sort of like you put this new thing into the schedule, you have to sort of be consistent with it. Where now it feels like that's just part of your weekly planning. Like you just do it. It becomes automatic where the work part is just like the initial hump you have to get over, which is not easy, but if you know like the other side's going to serve you so well, and then it becomes the non-negotiable. And I like
Right.
that the most empowering part, I think.
And when we worked together, I wore it for 2 weeks. But I did like my normal life for 2 weeks. And then I ordered another one because I was so fascinated by the data. And then I did that one. So I wore it for another 2 weeks where what we're talking about, the glucose monitor, I wore it for another 2 weeks, taking all of the learnings now and seeing now it almost was like a game. Can you gamify it? Can I stay in the green? Because it judges like how long were you in your,
Gives you a grade each day.
yeah.
You can,
Yeah. So I by the second time I wore a glucose monitor, I was never below a 93 or 95. I was like 95, you know, green the whole time as I figured it out.
and you proved it to yourself. I think that's the best part is I
Yeah.
love like
And
you
it
find
wasn't as
that
hard,
well.
right? Like wasn't hard. It was have lunch,
Right.
you know?
And I
Yeah.
think that I love it's amazing to me. I mean, I just had another client that I got them from type 2 diabetes, literally that's been going on for years, into the regular zone in just a matter of 8 weeks from using a CGM and having, and I think it inspires you on your own to like learn about you, right? This is all about Deb. It's no one else. And this is like your body and you have the full control. And I think it inspires you to make those like little changes without someone telling you, which I think is a big part too. Because I think we're so used to like, listen to a nutritionist, listen to this, where this is more just telling you about, okay, this is how you can hack and gamify your body a little bit. These are some tips. I'm not telling you not to have whatever. Of course, I'll say dairy is not the best, but even so, if that's what you want, let's just try to pare it back a little bit, but how to continue doing the things that you love. Like even when I know you had like ice cream or you had some drinks and you were surprised one time, like it didn't really go up because you had it not on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
And at the end of, the meal, or at least if for a glass of wine, you had a handful of nuts or just something before the
Yeah.
wine so that it will be able, because our body can process it. It just is about the order in which we're doing things.
Absolutely. And I think, like you can have bad days. Like we were just in Chicago for Thanksgiving. By the way, I made a quiche at my mom's. That's how committed I am to my quiche. I am like committed, uh, which is really funny. So that I had breakfast locked in. Um, I enjoyed my Thanksgiving. I absolutely had dessert. I absolutely had, whatever it was. And I was less concerned because I feel now that it's been another month on top of it, that your body, because now it's not bringing all the time, you can give yourself a little grace in those moments. And then you know exactly how to come back into your body. So even if it was a bad day, I don't even like to say it, it was a day of indulgence,
Yeah.
which you should absolutely have. You know how to get back, right? And for me, seeing the data that was my body, like you were saying, versus a nutritionist saying, like, don't eat rice. And you were like, I really like white rice. So please and thank you. And then having sushi one day, I don't eat fish. So it was vegetarian sushi. And I ate it on like a whim because we're starving between something. And to see what my body did with that, I was like,
It-
okay, it noted. And
Yeah.
I think that's the I think that's the key
Yeah.
because it was about my body, right? Not anyone, like you say, not telling, we're so inundated about what we're doing wrong or you should do X. And we're like, well, I'm just overwhelmed. It's like, okay, here's the clearest way to figure out your,
The easiest
your,
way to end the noise, like until you tap and see inside
yeah,
you, it's just like personalized medicine
that's
101.
exactly right.
One
Mhm.
is technically not that expensive. Like this is so many other kind of doctor sessions that you could be having and it's saving you now that you're seeing this now to
Yeah.
lock it in because when this goes undetected forever, it becomes type 2 diabetes. It becomes heart
Right.
disease, the number one killer for women. It becomes dementia, the number two chronic
Which
disease.
is my total fear because I have APOG gene. I've done so much stuff that I know that I have the genetics towards that. That scares the living, what out of me. So of course I'm going to get on estrogen sooner because for the neuro
Protected.
protectiveness of it and the eating habits become very important. Again, I think you can't, I don't, and it's not even about blame. It's like the curiosity of seeing what you think is healthy and how your body perceives it. So it's like this integration between like thought and reality. And now I think once you're through it, you're like, now you're just in alignment because it's like, well, it's just a cucumber roll. Well, my body thought it was like a
You're like,
chocolate bar.
Deb
Yeah.
didn't like the Deb's body didn't like the cucumber roll. How are you
Yeah.
feeling today? Like, are you feeling empowered, inspired, motivated? Like, what are you feeling like in your body? How's your
I
energy?
think it's I think it's hard not to when you like I don't want to say I acquiesced to what was, but I think on some level I'm like, well, I'm lifting heavy. I've done the hormone well, and I knew glucose has come up for me for like 3 years and I'm like, I know, I know, I know, I know. And maybe it's because I didn't want to be told like you can't have this. And the truth is that's not the truth. And I'd also say once you get your sugar balanced, you have less cravings. So it doesn't feel as
It's
like
daunting.
like don't take it away from me, like
Yeah.
it you once your blood sugar is balanced, like your needs are different. So what you think and what is different once it's a little bit more stabilized. So I think that's it. So I'm highly motivated because it was just a couple shifts for me to just change the game
And
to finally let my body be like, think it was almost like my body was like, thank you. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize
sooner.
how not eating lunch was not, I mean, I knew that wasn't good for you, but I didn't think it was that bad for you. And it's really bad for my body. I mean, all of our discussion was like, your feedback to me was like, your body's really sensitive to sugar,
Yeah.
really sensitive. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Right.
So once you know that about yourself, it might be different for someone else. Then you make calculated decisions based on what's going on. If I'm going out on Friday night, enjoy whatever meal. I might
Right.
make some additions, but I'm not gonna it didn't feel restrictive in a way that like triggered anything, right? It just became more about timing and like you said earlier about nourishment versus being bad or good.
Yeah. And I love that you also you didn't have to necessarily overhaul your whole life. This isn't like some big monster overhaul. This isn't something you need to necessarily plan for because I get a lot of excuses like, "Oh, I'm not ready. Like it's not the time." Like you don't need to plan it. The only thing people really don't like to wear the thing on their arm. I'm like it's 2 weeks and like the insights, would you agree, are just so profound that it's so worth just throwing it on as soon as possible because the longer you wait, the more you're just sort of living in the dark, not serving your body as best as possible. It's like these tiny little changes can make such a huge impact.
Right. It's just another way to derail yourself from some kind of truth. Listen, it's if you want to know yourself, you have to, like you said, the one-on-one medicine, the individualized medicine, like because my Dutch test was very different than your Dutch test. And then our needs are different and the way you use food is different. And so similar to Chinese medicine, why I love it is like one thing for someone else, you treat it in a completely different pattern, right? Like someone's insomnia, I treat completely different than another person's session of insomnia because of the way they present it and the patterns and the symptoms for them. So that individual identity is similar to like what the glucose monitor is doing.
I love
It's just a highlight reel for yourself.
I like that, a highlight reel. I think that's like a perfect way to sort of like close out the conversation. Really, I think the biggest takeaway is that once you know what your body needs, everything just becomes so much easier and that you can serve your body in a better way from what you put in it, the timing of it all, and how to gamify. I know you're very into the gamification of it all, that meeting it with curiosity instead of judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to me, again, the shock of it, because I think it's going to be so hard. And the fact that I got these results,
It was pretty easy.
easy. And
Yeah.
I'm not, the needle doesn't move easy for me. So I just want to like, oh, you're just maybe someone who, no, it does not. Like supplements are challenging for me. I have to really find the right thing. I've been through a lot. So I know what it takes, the healing journey to like figure out the right dose of anything for myself is very specific. So the fact that this happened just through food and awareness and timing and cravings, to me, it was like the biggest gift. I couldn't believe it.
I love that. What is one drop of wellness wisdom you'd like to leave with our listeners today from your amazing journey?
I would say the truth is freeing. It's not scary. If you could look at it as a love letter to yourself versus a judgment report, and then you realize why you were like struggling. There was a reason why. It wasn't because I was doing anything wrong. It just wasn't doing it the right way for me. And once you let go of those like limiting beliefs that come with you from your 30s, early 40s, and say, oh, I have to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So, what does that look like? Then you'll get the benefits.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I share all your sentiments, and I love that you said, I always say, once you know, you can't, or once you see, you can't unsee, and that it
Yeah.
really does set you free. So I love that element of freedom that you
Yeah.
felt, because I think it is so liberating to just feel like you know that you are serving your body in the best way possible. And it's because you got to see that. No one was necessarily, I was guiding you, but I wasn't telling you. I was just more
Yeah.
giving suggestions, but it was really your decision tree. And I say we have to parent ourselves in midlife like we do our children. Like you're finally parenting yourself and doing what's
Right.
best for you, which is beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this
So,
amazing success story with the Well Drop community. And I know your story will inspire so many other women to own their wellness. So thank you so much, Deb.
thank you. We'll see you.